and look up at you and see from Stifle.
He's
Oh, Stiefel.
he's covering it in place of Mike.
That's a good sign.
He's just more reader digest, easier to understand.
Like Thurber. Have you ever noticed that, you can stand out in the parking lot and talk to him? He's just fine. But once he gets like in a group of people,
He gets nervous.
so
No, you're fine. You want to read it? You're welcome to.
Stiefel.
Yeah. There you go. Stein.
Nope, I got it.
That's how we want to pronounce it. We pay him the same.
So Jane is here.
Yeah. They said that was right now.
Kristen's on vacation.
There was only like one minor thing that they addressed that's already been fixed.
Where'd she go?
I'm not sure, but she was
She's
gone.
there 2 weeks ago.
You know what I mean? I'll be
She
honest.
said there was, well, I was talking to Kelly.
Okay, thank you and welcome to the Greencastle School Board regular meeting of the month of March. First item on the agenda is adjustments to the agenda, Mr. Gibbony.
Yeah, so a late item to your board packet, and what you'll find at the table, or excuse me, in the board packet, is a builder's risk insurance proposal from Epic Insurance Midwest. And essentially, this is the additional insurance coverage required while we complete the renovation addition to Greencastle High School in Mackinac.
Okay, that'll be a number I.
Yep.
Okay. All right, can I get a motion to approve the adjustments to the agenda?
I'll make a motion. Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is public comments regarding tonight's agenda items. Do we have anyone wanting to speak on any of the agenda items tonight? Okay, hearing no one. Next item on the agenda is recognitions, Mr. Gibney.
Mr. McHugh?
I'm happy to present to you Isla Tyson. Isla is a second grader in Angie Wood's classroom, and Miss Wood has the pleasure of teaching Isla and wrote on her nomination, Isla is a helpful student who is also a role model student for others. Her daily smiles are a cheerful reminder that students in second grade should enjoy their time while they learn. Isla is a hard worker and always tries her best. She is a friend to all and a pleasure to have in class. Isla Tyson, our Deer Meadow Student of the Month for the year.
Mr. McHugh and all of our student of the month families, we have the Greencastle backdrop in the lobby area, so you can go out and around and back in. The
Okay.
backdrop.
All right. We what?
You go through
We can
that.
cut through this way, sir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, I left that open
All right, family.
for photos.
So Tizonicus is proud to have Mia Cochran as our Student of the Month. Mia is a fourth grader in Mrs. Aguirre's classroom. And Mrs. Aguirre notes that Mia is an incredible leader in and out of the classroom. She is always willing to help her peers, whether it be with a math problem or just a marker for them to color with. She will be there to help. She walks in every morning with a contagious smile on her face, and I love that, Mrs. Aguirre, a contagious smile, and her laughter quickly fills the room. Mia works hard in every subject, even when things get challenging. Watching her grow this year has been a joy. Mia Cochran.
Good evening, Greencastle Middle School. We actually have two students we'd like to recognize tonight, one from last month and one for this month. So if I could have Rachel Hubbard please come up. So be ready to sit and listen for a little bit because the teachers have a lot of positive things to say about Rachel. I love this adjective that is used, the tremendous, all right? Rachel is a tremendous student who demonstrates fairness. She's currently on the Science Academic Bowl team and is working on research for the competition with a fellow student. She always makes sure that the workload is fair and even goes above and beyond and finishes research outside of her other duties. Rachel is also thoughtful. She's a thoughtful student, always willing to lend a hand and help other students. Rachel is a positive person, even when she's having a bad day, and it doesn't let her stop her from being the best student she can be. And another teacher said, Rachel is always on task and works very hard. She helps other students and asks questions readily. Rachel Hubbard. One more. Landon Miller, if you'll come up. That was a long walk. Not to be outdone, but Landon also has quite a few things that teachers have made comments on. Landon always tells the truth. He always completes tasks given to him. He is one of the most honest students you could ask for. Landon is a student who not only is trustworthy, but is very respectful in the classroom. There isn't a day he doesn't hold the door until the last student leaves the room. Landon is always willing to lend a hand and help other students study when they need it. He will help go over material with other students that they are not as prepared for as he is. He is a great kid. I love that. Landon has to be one of the most thoughtful students ever. He is always willing to hold the door open for teachers. There's a theme there. Yeah, very good. He always gets his work done and puts forth great effort. Landon Miller.
Good evening. Our high school student couldn't make it tonight, but I'm still going to honor him anyway. Our high school student is Brayden Mann. He's a junior at Greencastle High School, and we're tremendously, good word, I just used it, didn't I? We're so proud to recognize him because of the strides he's made really since his freshman year. I could go on and on and on because I got to have lots of conversations with Brandon his freshman year, but our character trait this last month, you guys got that? Our character trait this last month was kindness, and to share a quick story about how he portrayed this without giving too much away. We basically had a student that had returned to us. He'd been basically out for 2 years, in other words, virtually, and not really been in our building. It was really difficult for that student to come back, and not only come back, but then get on a bus and arrive to school. And so Brayden reached out and said, you know what, I can give him a ride. It's not a problem. So he arranged to pick the student up and walk him into first period class. And for that, he was recognized. Really, really amazing. And again, if you know this kid at all, to say that we could come here and honor him, I'll give him that plaque later on, just brings joy to all of our hearts. And it has everything to do with him, and we just sit here and get to enjoy it. So, Brayden Mann.
Okay. Okay, thank you, everyone. And the next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. which consists of meeting minutes from an executive session on February 28th and a regular board meeting on February 28th. The allowance of claims, the financial report, and personnel reports, parts 1 and 2, which are on the website and on the door. Mrs. Romer.
Okay, first in your findings packet, you're gonna see the two regular payrolls for February 2022. First one dated February 4th, 2022. Total payroll, $428,045.34. And as usual, we've got some retirement and payroll tax and whatever can go along with that. Total, on that accounts payable dated February 4th, 2022, $121,780.80. And the second regular payroll dated February 18th, 2022, total payroll $425,733.81. And along with that was the retirement and payroll taxes, total $121,256.59. And next in your package, you're gonna see prepays for the month of February. Total prepays, and there's nothing unusual on this list. Did anyone have any questions about the prepays?
No.
Okay, total prepays for February 2022, $266,251.87. And then, next you're gonna see the regular accounts payable dated today, March 28th, 2022. And we give the total on that. Did anyone have any, question about an individual claim on this list?
I did not.
Okay, so total, accounts payable dated for today, $236,411.80. And ready to move on to the financial report?
Mhm.
All right, next in your package, you're gonna see the fund report. Balance at the end of February 2022, education fund, $2,311,128.95. Operations balance at the end of February 2022, $1,316,636.15. Total for all funds, if you go to the last page, which is page 5, is at $7,512,178.66. Next in your package, you're gonna see the depository statement, the balance for all banks at the end of February 2022, and then the outstanding checks. We're going to have some outstanding checks in Bank 10 of $233,248.29. You'll see there at the bottom that the fund balance for the depository statement is $5,512,178.66, and that balance is to be pending on the fund report. And then lastly, an update as far as expenditures on bond 2021. Balance forward from July 2021 through February 2022 was $3,176,316.28. There you have the new expenditures highlighted for the month of March 2022. Total expenditures to date from bond 2021 is $3,260,418.79. Any other questions? I'd like to welcome you for approval.
I do not have any questions.
No.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. No further questions. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, next item on the agenda is reports, and the first one is from Assistant Superintendent, Dr. French.
Yeah, so just one quick update. So we had some good news. Recently, we received a $23,000 grant from the American Rescue Plan specifically for homeless children and youth. And so we can use those funds specifically to help kids that are homeless or in foster care. So we've earmarked those funds to help in terms of extracurricular activities or school supplies. So if there's a student that wants to do band, it can cover their instrument rental. Or if they need cleats or any other athletic fees that would be attributed to that. So we have dedicated specific funds. We always try to make that work. Teachers and coaches and principals always try to cover those bases. But to have funds specifically dedicated to that is a really good thing to have for them.
Sure.
It's outstanding.
Great, yeah.
So that's good news.
Yeah,
That's all I have
indeed.
tonight.
Yeah, perfect, thanks. Next is Mr. Gibbons Report.
Yeah, so I've asked Mike Montgomery from CAREM to provide a little bit of an update about our projects that are going out to bid this month for secure entrances at our primary schools, the sealing of the building envelope at TZ, and then some of the things at the middle school. So an overall status update.
Thanks.
So this is, what's on the screen is the same as the handout that you have. So to give you a little bit of an overall status report of all the projects, the football and track is, it's essentially complete, but there's a handful of things that have just been tough to get the contractor to finish. They have been back even yet today and this week, working with Mr. Gibbons and the staff to get those completed, and I think they feel like they're going to be able to run track on your first meet on April the 5th. The high school in the McAnally, which is the biggest project of the group, we've all been working with the general contractor. It's going well. He's planning to move on site in early April, and by the end of April, they'll be doing some work over there. So there's some logistics work that's going on now to make it all work together. And just as a reminder, that project is to be completed by December 31st of next year. So a lot of work to do, but the group so far seems very professional and organized. The primary thing to talk about tonight is the work that is now out to bid. It's the work at Tazonagas Elementary School to seal up the envelope of the building so it doesn't leak, to reduce the humidity in the building, which has been an ongoing problem. And along with that work is the secure entrances at the primary schools, as TZ, Ridpath, and Deer Meadow. Those bids are due April the 12th, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's in those plans, just so that you're up to speed and knowledgeable of it. And then ongoing right now is the middle school design work that includes the secure entrances, the media center renovation, and the science area renovations at the middle school. And then the last group of work is the high school parking lot area, Ridpath exterior there's some exterior work to do there, and there's some other miscellaneous work that we're going to try and pick up as part of that big group. So if you go to the next slide, please. As a matter of fact, skip a couple of them there. This is a floor plan of, please go back one. There we go. This is a floor plan of Ridpath Elementary, of Tazonagas, TZ. And in order to let the contractors know what their work is to do to seal up this envelope, it's a little bit hard to see here, but all the way around the perimeter, we've poked our heads above the ceilings and identified every condition, different condition of construction. And in the bid documents, the contractors are given the information about what he is to do, or he or she is to do, to correct the air infiltration. So if you go to the next slide, and even skip one more ahead there. This is just one example of the type of information the contractor is looking at for each different condition, and there are 14 different conditions around the building. In the upper right is an example. You can see actually the top of the concrete block wall, and then to your right of that is the soffit area. And that is the area that's going to be blocked up because it just leaks a lot. And you can, matter of fact, you can see over on the right-hand side, you can see a light fixture with daylight coming in around it. Lower, it may be a little hard to see, but in the lower drawing of that exact same condition, essentially we're directing the contractor to work his way around the building, and the specifications call for 2-inch thick, essentially cooler walls, like you might see in a kitchen cooler, a commercial kitchen, and different conditions where they put that up and seal the perimeter around it and cover all the edges. And we think it's a good, as economical as you're going to find solution to give a good installation and seal up all those areas. This is a typical condition, and there's a lot of wide open areas just like this. Next slide, please. This is a partial floor plan at TZ Elementary, and this is the plan that's developed to secure that entrance. And in the upper left part, you can see where the office is, and then directly below the office is a new secure vestibule. And essentially at TZ, which is the toughest one, there's a glass wall that will divide that entryway in half. So that if I'm approaching the building and I want to come in during non-dismissal hours, I would push the same button that you have now, have the doors released, but I can't go all the way into the school building. I have to go into the office area to check in, and then I'm allowed to go from the office area into the school. And but during dismissal and the other times when the building's wide open, both of the sets of doors will be open so the students can come and go and parents can come and go. So if you flip one more slide. This is at Deer Meadow Elementary School, which is the easiest of the three. You can see kind of in the top part there, it says new door. That's essentially all you have to do for this particular building. In terms of the architecture, I was just to cut a new door into the existing office area and then set up some of the security a little bit. We are taking an alternate to maybe look at a buzzer on that new door so that instead of people going straight into the office, there might be a buzzer there depending on cost. But this one is very, very simple to set up. So if you can go one more slide. This is at Ridpath Elementary, and it's not particularly difficult. You can see kind of on the right-hand side there, it says moved glass. If you remember the entrance to Ridpath, there's already a glass wall. After you come in from the exterior, there's just not enough room to get the new door into the office. So the glass wall gets moved back, and then a new door is cut into the office area from the existing vestibule. There is a fire alarm panel there, and there are some complications, but in terms of the actual layout. And one other small detail, up above where it says single door, that's a door, the double door is now that leads into the cafeteria. Due to the space constraints, that's being changed to a single door. So again, it was not too difficult to fix. There's just some electronics that goes along with that. Next slide. So the other large part of the work that's coming up is the middle school. And there are three primary components to this. A renovation of the science classrooms, you can see on the right. This is the existing floor plan. A renovation of the media center, and then some renovation configuration for the entrance area for the secure entrance. And just the way that the middle school is configured, there is a separation that takes people right into the corridor, a little bit like it is at Tizonigus. So it triggers more remodeling than you might have seen at Ridpath or Deer Meadow. Next slide, please. For the media center, our team has met with the administrators and the teachers, and you know it's an opportunity to create a new kind of new energy for the media center to help attract students and find new use for it. So these were some of the images shared during a work session with the staff working in the media center area. Next slide, please. As we went through and worked, we came up with some different configurations, and none of them have been settled yet, but this is just kind of our progress. One of the ideas was to develop, if possible, an instructional corner, where now a lot of the classes, if there's a substitute or some other instructional shortage, they all go to the media center. So this might set aside a space to allow that to occur, and also provide space for more flexible classroom gatherings in the media center. And I won't go into a lot of details. Next slide. This just shows that there are different options that we're studying now with the staff. Next slide, please. This is some of the work in the new entrance area. And this happens to be one of the options that seem to be a little bit, this is a tough area to work out, there's no doubt. It just happens to trigger, if we're not careful, we'll trigger more remodeling than you need or want to do. But this, in this particular one, you can see that the office and clinic and guidance are moved across the hallway to the outside walls, and then those two classrooms there are moved down the hall to the north a little bit. And then the hallway itself is actually jogged up towards the west. A classroom is added, so it ends up reconfiguring quite a bit of the area. Some of it, one of the things I think all of us discovered in working with the staff was there's a lot of spaces that weren't as efficiently used because it's, you know, kind of an older school and they've just kind of used space as they've found it. So it does give an opportunity to create some more efficiency in the office and guidance and, you know, just for example, I believe there's a partnership forming with the local hospital in terms of electronic telehealth. So this will allow you to have a better facility for that. Next slide, please. This is a blow up of that same area where the potential of the hallway is just shifting to allow this particular scheme to work. And then if you flip to the next slide, please. There are multiple versions of the possible science area. This is the layout that seemed to, at the time, currently seemed to have the most attraction to the staff. And there are 3 science classrooms. They're all a little bit bigger than what they have now. The prep area is in between, and the labs, the science classroom / labs are a little bit larger. So instead of sharing a lab space and each teacher having a classroom, they now have a combination lab and classroom space, all within the same footprint that they have now and all new equipment. So I think that's the last slide, and it kind of gives you an update as to what we're working on right now. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them for you.
At TZ, when it rains, how are we collecting that rainwater and getting it away from the school?
Not very well. Yeah.
That is not part of this work.
Okay.
This we're trying to get out relatively quick
Okay.
to get as much of it done during the summer.
Right.
So it seals up because it's inside space. That's going to come as part of the next wave. And right now, the rainwater runs off the roof and just goes nowhere, to tell you the truth. And initially, we thought maybe groundwater was part of the contributing factor, but we did have some soil borings done there, and it wasn't that. It was this. And just as a reminder, once this, the air testing company that did this said that one of the things that will happen is we'll go through this process of sealing it up, and then you'll have a reasonably well-sealed building. Then we'll test it again, because there may be other openings that, without enough pressure, they just didn't show up before. So we think this will take care of a lot of it, but there's more to come with that building there. So,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Just kind of on that same topic, we're looking at testing one wing of the middle school that has some humidity, moisture issues to see if that's an envelope issue as well. So we have some dehumidifiers that Ms. Hamilton couldn't even test for that area, new wing, just to see if there are any leaks that we can seal up. And on that same on the topic of the high school, working on the phasing, a lot of meetings in preparation for this. The construction is coming, and it's gonna come swift, and it's gonna come fast, so we are working on some announcements for families and community in general, because with Weddle Brothers mobilizing next week, people are gonna start to see some fencing that they're not used to seeing, and we're gonna have to make some adjustments to our operations. So, and that'll be constantly changing as we begin this journey for our beautiful high school. It'll be updated.
It won't be for a real long time, though.
What's that?
It won't be for a real long time, though.
No.
It's gonna be done.
Yeah, I'll be done tomorrow.
Yeah.
Mike told me that. But we are working on that because we do expect to share information with the community, and we will obviously want to get in front of our staff first, and then students and families. That's what I have for this month.
Okay, thanks. Next item on the agenda is old business, and we have no old business. So the next item on the agenda is for the board to hold a preliminary hearing on the proposed construction project. If you are interested in speaking at the hearing, please make sure you have signed at the sign-up sheet, and include your name and address. After a presentation by the administration and its advisors, there will be an opportunity for the public to make comments about the project. The notice of this preliminary determination hearing was published as legally required. And at this time, I will ask bond counsel to explain the purpose of this hearing.
Good evening, Jane Herndon from Ice Miller. Pursuant to Indiana Code 2026-737, before a school corporation can alter a building where they're going to spend more than $1 million, they're required to hold a public hearing. In addition, after certain thresholds, the law also requires public hearings, and this is the second of that public hearing for that purpose.
Thanks. Okay, now, we will hear from Mr. Gibbons about the process of determining and communicating the project with the community and the need for the project.
Yeah, so we obviously went through the process a year ago, last March, with our two hearings. And that was for essentially this group of work at the high school and McAnally Center. And then the work that Mike Montgomery presented on from KRM. And we heard overwhelming support from our community and our public. And, you know, one of the unfortunate things with the climate right now, with the construction market being volatile, supply chain being challenged, is our bids came back a little bit higher than expected. And so in order to fully complete the work that we hear that our stakeholders want us to complete, it's necessary to issue some additional bonds. And so we need to go through this process in order to do that, so we can adequately complete the work throughout the school district. And you know, one of the changes that we made as a result of that is obviously we decided not to do the off-site ball fields because we couldn't afford to do it. We wanted to focus on our academic spaces. We wanted to focus on safety, security, and then obviously finishing off the high school campus, making sure that we did the work the right way. So we can revisit the off-site ball fields at a later date, but we believe it's important to focus on this, you know, the rest of this work and move forwards with that.
Okay, thanks. Okay, well, we will now hear from Stiefel, Nicholas and Company about how the proposed project will be financed, as well as information about the effect on the typical property owner.
Good evening, Luke Bruggeman with Stiefel. We serve as bond underwriter for the school corporation. There's a couple of slides I have for you guys. We've been working with the administration on this proposed bond issue, and just want to share the potential structure and the potential taxpayer impact or lack thereof that this bond issue would have. So if you flip to the first page, it's the current debt profile of the school corporation. So this is just all of the school corporation's outstanding bond issues. Good.
I didn't include it again. We'll grab the ones from the back.
So if you flip to that first page, that's the school corporation's current debt profile. That includes all the outstanding bond obligations that the school has. In the bar chart there is all of the different ones, and that corresponds to the y-axis on the left-hand side for the annual payments for each one of those. On the right-hand side is what the debt service tax rate is, and that's based on that red line graph that you see running through there. And that's really the most important part of this bond issue. So you can see the school's maintained about a 62-cent debt service rate over the past couple years. We structured this 2021 bond issue, the first round of these projects, to allow for future projects. The strong assessed value growth that the school corporation saw last year, along with the low interest rates during the bond issue last year, allowed for that capacity to be realized earlier than expected. So when you flip to the second page there, that the blue on the bottom is the current debt service that was just on that prior page. The orange there is the potential $5.5 million bond issue layered onto that for the outstanding payments. Again, the most important thing here is the debt service tax rate, that line graph. You can see that we're still targeting that 62-cent rate that the school corporations hit historically over the last few years. And then not only that, I think it's important with this bond issue that we're doing this in a way to structure the bonds to maintain debt service capacity for the future. So we're not doing this round of bond issues and hamstring the school corporation for any future projects or any future debt service capacity. We know there's going to be capital needs in the future. You're going to have something that comes up over the next 20 years. Then the last slide is just the legal parameters of the bond issue, and that's really just going on what was shown in those charts before. And these are the maximum parameters for these bond issue. We can always come down from this, but we cannot go any higher than what we're proposing here. So that would be a $5.5 million bond issue, approximately $250,000 for cost of issuance, and then $5,250,000 for hard and soft project costs. You can see the estimated interest expense there, and the max lease payment of $2,940,000. That is the combined max annual payment that the school would make in 1 year for the 2021 bonds and the 2022 bonds combined. So we're not going over that original threshold that was passed last year. The maximum tax rate impact, $61.99. You've heard me say 62 cents time and time again tonight. That's what I'm referring to. The net increase over the 2021 rate is 0 cents, so we're not going above that historical 62 cents. I'll pause there, answer any questions that the board or the administration has.
So debt service tax rate neutral, and again, all of our projects will have been bid by then, and so we'll only issue bonds in the amount we need. We won't take the full 5.5 if we don't need that.
Right.
And we still have room in case there's an emergency or down the road.
Yep.
Exactly, yep. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we will open the public hearing, so if there's anyone that would like to speak about the proposed projects, now is your chance. No one? Okay. So, just keep in mind, there is no board action needed at this hearing, rather is to hear public comments. And now we will have Ms. Herndon explain or summarize the project resolution.
So the first resolution is your Exhibit A, entitled the Project Resolution. It probably looks a little similar because this is very similar to what you adopted about a year ago. And if you look in the first few paragraphs, it summarizes that action that you took back in March of 2021. Then at the top of the page, it goes on and really reiterates what you just heard Luke talk about, the $5,250,000 hard and soft construction, maximum cost of issuance of the $250,000 for a total maximum of $5,500,000, and most importantly, that the tax rate is expected to stay level at that 62 cents. So any questions on that resolution?
Okay, can I get a motion in a second to adopt the project resolution?
So moved. I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Now, could you explain or summarize the preliminary determination process or resolution, please?
This resolution is the one that you adopt after that second preliminary determination hearing that we just had. It describes the project in exactly the same way it was described a year ago. The only difference here now is it is authorizing the additional maximum of the $5,500,000. The term of the lease is still 22 years, and it goes through the annual lease payment that you heard Luke talk about and all those financial figures that are required by statute. Again, the most important thing in many ways is that tax rate expecting to be a net zero, with the maximum increase at the 62 cents.
Okay, thank you. And can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to be approved as read.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is an approval request for a project resolution. Mr. Gibbons, want me to read this, or?
No, we just did we already adopted those, we completed those, B and C. Just as a part
Okay,
after the
gotcha.
hearing.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is an approval request for a resolution to authorize deposit account with Teachers Credit Union.
Yeah, so one of the things that we have done is we've approached some of our local banks about our interest rate on some of our accounts. As you recall, right now, all of our banking is with First National, and TCU has offered us an interest rate of 0.75%, a rate of return for the next 2 years, which would generate roughly an additional $18,000 in interest. And obviously, we try to be good stewards of our money and the taxpayers' money. And so, as a result of this, there's a proposal to transfer some of our funds from First National into an account with Teachers Credit Union because it offers a better rate of return. So we'll still keep First National Bank as our primary account, but then we'll open up a money market account with Teachers Credit Union. So in order to do that, the board has to take action.
Sounds good to me. Could I get a motion to approve?
I will make a motion. I will second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is an approval request for some special education services, one being the 2022-2023 speech language pathologist, something I am needing. A speech language pathologist services contract for Shelby Slack. 2022-23 physical therapy services contract with Cornerstone Rehabilitation, and a 2022 summer speech services.
Yep, so it's my recommendation that the board approve these requests so we're able to keep our people in place and continue to provide the awesome services that we do for our students and their families.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item is an approval request for the 2022 summer meal program.
Yep. So as is customary, again, we just want to be able to offer meal services through our food service department throughout the summer. In order to do so, we have to have board approval to do that, and Mrs. Carrico and her staff will publicize which sites they will be. We are shifting back, I believe, to a more of a cafeteria-style approach meal, so families and students under 18 coming in for the meal rather than a grab-and-go curbside.
I make a motion to approve.
Sure.
Yeah, second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is an approval request for a Deca overnight field trip to Georgia.
Yep, so we had some students qualify for, and Mr. Rogers, correct me if I'm wrong, is it an international competition?
Believe it or not, it's international, yeah, I
And
asked the same question.
And I believe there's 3 students, or is there more now?
Yeah, no, there were more before that qualified, but
Okay.
3 are going.
But there's 3 students, and they're gonna be chaperoned by Mrs. Jadell. Travel arrangements and everything have obviously been taken care of, but since it's overnight and out of state, it requires board approval, and those documents were included in your board packet. I think it's a great opportunity for our kids to not only represent themselves, but our school community, and certainly as a celebration of their hard work.
I make a motion that we let them go and do their job in Georgia.
I second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is an approval request for Tezonicus Intermediate Student Device Proposal.
Yeah, so included in your packet was a device proposal to update our computers at TZ, and thanks to Mr. Hill, our technology coordinator, technology director, he applied for a federal emergency connectivity fund grant, and we just found out that we were awarded $188,000 from the federal government, which is amazing, and that's really going to help offset the cost of the replacement devices for TZ for the next 4 years. And also included in your packet is a quote that Dell agreed to extend that had already expired to allow us to move forward with purchasing those devices, so that hopefully we'll get them this summer, but if not, I've been assured that we can work out a transition when they do arrive. And so this will greatly offset what families are currently paying for in rental for their device. We're still working out what that exact fee is, but it'll be a lot less. I did say Tuesday, didn't I? Yeah.
Well, thank you for getting the grant. That's good.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Hill did a good job.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is an approval request for a builder's risk proposal.
Yep, so as is legally required, as a part of the process, Epic Insurance Midwest, who is our current insurance, or our current insurance agent, we have our various policies. They bid out the builder's risk policies, and so in front of you, you have the proposal. Too many pages here. From Hanover Insurance, and it's at a roughly a cost of $36,000 or roughly $18,000 per year to cover us during the building project, and say we finish up earlier than the 2 years, it'll be prorated and there'll be a credit given. And so this policy would go into effect April 1, and it's my recommendation that the board approve this request.
I'll make a motion to that effect.
I'll second. You have to have this in place.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? Comments? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is other business. Does anyone have any other business to discuss?
I'm just curious how the dog's doing.
You care to speak how Dory?
Oh, Dory is doing well. She's 9 months, but we decided it is 0 days.
myself here, but we talked briefly about the summer food program, so clearly next year we gotta be thinking about, are you hearing anything as far as if our meals will be funded again this year?
Yeah, so there's a lot of debate in the federal government with a lot of things right now. And I don't, well, it just depends. I know that one side, you know, there's an appetite from one side, but there isn't from another, no pun intended with that. But we have not been told that there's a guarantee that meals will be free next year.
Just curious.
Yep, good question.
Okay. Next item, any other business? Okay, next item on the agenda is adjournment.
Make a motion. A second.
Okay, we have a motion second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you for coming, and be careful going home.